And see, that's what we're talking about. Right there. What's up, POB?
Hey, how's it going, Jono?
We're just into the show. We're just gonna start. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Oh man, it's just so awesome seeing all of our dear friends and family in the chat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I know everybody in the chat.
This is great.
Every single person, our friends of ours. That's awesome.
And a lot are friends that I've known through talking to you. Like there's some new friends I'm gathering even this week, thanks to you. So.
And there's friends that I've met because of you.
Stop.
No, that's true.
Stop.
Everybody from LA who's here is because of you.
Nice. Hello, my LA people.
Monoscene says, Jono, you moved your printer. I didn't. And I still have my Travarsi sticker right there. Right there.
I see it.
It's right
there.
I put it on last time for some corporate branding. Just and then I brought it up. Showed it. Man, New York's here, Colorado's here, San Diego's here. Austin's here. LA's here.
Wow.
I'm just trying to scroll and make sure I've covered all the parts of the country.
Yeah, good group of people.
The
The great connector. Nice. That's great.
All right, let's get to it. Come on now. All right. Welcome to Dotwave Live. I'm your host, Jono Wells, and I'm sitting here with Mr. Patrick O'Brien. Mr. POB is here.
Thank you, Jono.
So, as some of you might know who have listened to my podcast, it's usually edited and very produced and very organized, and I take out all the tangents, and like all this pre-stuff right now would not have been on the show. No Jono stuttering, no, stuff. This is, but we are live. It's true. And warts and all. And facial.
You don't have to go there. No, that's okay.
Look, I didn't.
You're losing people already.
I didn't point to them.
Okay.
Right there. So we are here to play this patch that Patrick called me a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Dude, I got this patch I made. It might be like the best thing I ever did. It's awesome. I love it. How can we play it?" I'm like, "Well, Modular World is about 4 shows booked out, and literally, and Dotwave, which is usually the podcast version, not this live version. Similarly, I've got episodes I've recorded, and I'm just like, we could do it in like a couple months." And he's like, "Oh, I just got to release it then." And then we hatched this idea of doing this.
Yes.
It's awesome.
This is great.
Well, this is the 3rd time I've done this format.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's the recorded one. The first one was me and my brother Matt, who's in the chat here. We did one as June Water, which is
Matt,
which is our duo. What's up, Maddie? And then I did it a couple months ago with Joe Holiday with Snakes of Russia. And so this is the 3rd edition of Dotwave Live. I like this format. I do.
This is good. It's good to hang on a Friday night like this. It's here in LA. We've got, strange clouds above us that's keeping us from seeing the space beyond, and with all the wildfires. And so, it's kind of feels like we're covered in some way, being very close. It's kind of an intimate setting.
How far are you? Yeah. I mean, it's like one guest. It's like handleable. We can just like be together. It's good.
Yeah.
I don't have to hang a green screen. It's not a big produced show. It's like, it's just me and you. I like it.
And you can talk about your printer and all your marketing.
Right. Come on,
right
backwards.
There.
Right there, my sister. Okay. So how far are you from fires?
That's still pretty far away. It's just there's so many that the clouds are just turning red, and just from so much of the smoke, I think I'm probably an hour and a half from the Bobcat fire, which is out here, which has been going pretty heavy. So, it's, I don't, in all the years I've been in LA, I haven't seen that sepia tone type of sky, like day and night. It kind of makes you wonder, is it sun setting? Is it rising? It really messes with your, it feels like your whole rhythm, because you just don't know. It's like sepia tone, and then it's dark, and there's not much time in between, and I like to stargaze. I'm an astronomy guy. So, I do like to go out and look at planets and nebulae, and just, they give me inspiration. And so, but, I understand we can't quite do that right now because there's so much smoke in the air, but, so I'm hoping that they get it. It's just, it's all we talk about. I talked to my family back in St. Louis, and we talk about the wildfires. And so, and luckily I'm not nearby, and I pray for those that are nearby and they have to change their lives because of it.
Yeah.
So, the least I can worry about is a little smoke, and
plus
we're all staying indoors for the most part anyway. So,
you
keeping
are
us pretty
Why?
Healthy.
For what?
I don't know.
I've been out. I go out.
Gas prices are just too high.
Nah, there's nothing going on. But now look, I mean, you mentioned there's usually no sepia tone sky in Los Angeles, and that is just not true. You got plenty of smoggy sepia sky there, man.
Yeah.
I've driven over the valley. I've looked in.
But not like I'm out in the valley.
I
It's a
know.
little different here.
No, no. I mean, when you come from lovely San Diego with no smog and you come into it and it's like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
shit, that's real.
Yeah.
No, I'm just playing. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not playing, but anyway. My brother Matt, who I mentioned, he's 20 miles, well, 15 miles inland, and it's pretty close to them. And we talked about possible evacuation, me showing up with my minivan, helping him out with all of his
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't gotten a call, Matt, so I assume we're good. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's get into this. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a special performance, and it comes from a very serious and personal place for you.
Yeah, it's
Explain to us what we're going to hear or see.
sure. I think that it's interesting because um, it's I think for musicians they try to figure like with everything happening in the world today, you think of all the different aspects of the situations that we're dealing with. You just wonder, you know, is there a sound that I can pull off creatively to express what's happening in this time? And I think of what motivates and energizes people, and I have seen a lot on Instagram. There's a lot of my friends, some of are in the chat room here, where the type of music is just it's really it's very powerful and very dramatic because a lot of it is based on what's happening around our society right now. And so whether it's the protests, the Black Lives Matter movement, it's the mask shamers and the people that are yelling back and forth and creating a scene, and just the whole pandemic in general, where it's just like there's a lot of energy that's around. And so it's like, what is this with so many things going on, plus living in working from home and not going anywhere? It's like there's so many dramatic things that are happening in this world. How is that going to impact my art, my craft? Like, what's going to be my takeaway? And I just been patching and thinking of different scenarios with trying to voice different parts of what's happening in this world. And so I wasn't, even with this patch here, it's like I wasn't going to sit down and be, okay, this is my performance, this is going to be the defining moment of 2020 or whatever however you want to phrase it. But I just thought this is kind of what I'm feeling at this moment in time. And so I just wanted to roll on it and just not really, more or less, to document my experience myself, so that when I wake up in the morning, I can listen to have some sort of a reference guide if I want to continue patching. But when I listened to it the next day, there were so many emotions that came out for that, just the way the voice is carried through the patch and the way they were speaking in such a way that reflected a lot of the news and current events that are happening. And so I'm like, wait a minute, let me just kind of sit back on this a little bit. And because my first instinct was, okay, let's recreate what I rehearsed the night before, and let's add on to it. Let's add some percussion, or let's add some intricate, staccato type of sub harmonies or something, and just give it a little more fill. And the more I listened to it, the more I thought that it doesn't need to be super complex. Even though I have, I want to create it, and I want to create that experience, and I want to feel full and complete with it. It doesn't have to be 10 different oscillators and having a whole bunch of different sounds. Like, it can be very simplistic in its form. And even in the way that I played it, it was very slow and methodic. Like it was like holding me back a little bit from taking it to another level and doing something more. And so in that restriction of myself, it kind of gave this presence of holding back a little bit. Even though there was so many things that were going on in the patch, I just felt I had to hold back to capture it in some way. And otherwise I don't know if it would have been anything listenable, because right now it felt very melodic and bold and strong, where I didn't want to mess it up. Like, I really liked where it was headed, and I didn't want to start the next day and add some rhythmic things. And then it kind of took away from the essence of what I wanted to capture in the first place. So
restraint,
so I just,
right? It's like the hardest thing.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I did here. And when I recorded, I'm like, man, I'm just like, I look like shit, I'm kind of grubby, and my hair hadn't gotten cut in a while. And I'm just like, but then I'm thinking part of the whole capturing the moment. It's being able to feel the art coming through you and being able to portray what's happening while I feel like I'm a mess, because it was just fun. It was fun to actually capture it now, but looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know. You just never know when that moment's going to hit. That's just the right moment. And you just want to hold on to that. And part of why I wanted to keep this patch the way it was and keep it intact from its original performance was because I couldn't recreate. And that's the fun with modular synth. I could not recreate the moment that I created for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I consider myself lucky to have even, because I was patching it and I got about 2 voices in. I'm like, let me just pull up a camera and just hit record, because
I think something might be happening.
Yeah, something, and so then I hit the record. I set it up while this like droney thing was looping in the background.
Don't give it away. Like, don't give it away. Come on now.
Okay.
Come on now.
And then I added more voices, and the voices were just like, they were one-time chants in some way, where it's like I could not replace it. It wasn't anything I'd written down. It just I felt like it just went through me into the modular, and it just was able to be captured at that time. And it was very simple and slow, but it gave me time to really think about the patch and think about how I want to carry it. But then partly I got that 1% that's going, this is kind of turning out pretty cool. Why don't you just go with it for a little bit and see what happens? Come on, keep it going.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it. No, don't overdo it, but
don't
do
it.
But don't overdo it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Add another, so the whole time I'm fighting this like urge to blow it out, but that's where that restraint come in, and I feel very good about it. So that's kind of the feeling. So after I put this together, that's when I called you and said, I captured it. I've captured a moment that I would define many years from now to come back and say, this was the moment in the summer of 2020 that I was able to portray what's happening around me in some sort of musical, piece that I felt really good about. So yeah. And you picked up the phone, and here we are.
I'm always going to pick up the phone. Like we talk about like honoring your art, honoring your artistry. And that's sometimes a little bit of an eye roller just to me. I'm not sure what it always means, but I think what you're explaining is that. Both in your restraint, like in the moment, but also like, really trying to tell how you feel, because, friends of mine write very political lyrics but I mean, we can't do that in modular, unless we're flying in samples of our president or newsreel stuff, that would be very obvious. Right. But you say you're going to look back on this one and remember that this is how you felt in this summer. It's very beautiful, man. I think we just got to play this like right now. Okay. I know everybody's like, shut up. Oh my God. Okay. So afterwards we'll come back. Cause of course we will. And we'll talk, a little more technical about the patch and like what you built. You could, talk about some of that, and then we can kind of revisit some of these points we've touched on.
Sure.
All right. There's a bunch of gold, and you and I we could talk forever, but I promise this is not going to be a long stream. Like we said, like 3 hours tops.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
between 2 and 3 hours tops. I gotta go to bed. No, I'm not going to bed. Okay. So now you gave this a name. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
What's it called? I know what it's called. I'm just trying to feed you.
It's called Unrest.
All right.
And I feel like there's a lot of unrest with almost every situation that's happening. There's some sort of unrest that it just felt like it defined every aspect.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the world premiere of Unrest from Patrick O'Brien. So I don't think I'm the only one who wanted that to go on for like 5 times longer. Nice work, man.
Thank you, Jono.
Nice work.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of fun to go back and watch it live with the chat, and thank you for giving me the chance to play it out. I mean, this is
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I have this there's like 2 or 3 moments in the patch where I just get really like, and I guess that's part of the fun of being an artist, is that you get goosebumps and you feel like you're going to start bawling, and I think a lot of it just it forces me to stop down and slow down and listen instead of just flipping by your phones on Instagram or running around trying to do all your errands while you have 2 hours, and just to stop and absorb.
Right.
And even my own stuff, sometimes I go back and listen to it and I hear new things. So thank you so much, really.
Oh, come on. Speaking of the chat, I love it when this happens, and it doesn't happen much. I see it on Modular World occasionally, where it's the kind of performance where the chat just stops. It just comes to a halt.
Yeah.
And this one, I could just feel it, man. It was like we're in like an intimate club, and like you could hear a pin drop. Like people aren't talking during shows, but it's kind of, well, most of us aren't. But it's kind of YouTube chat culture to be high-fiving and chatting through a set. That's fine. But I love it when it just like, I mean, our chat just like died. It was so cool. Like everybody was just really just listening, Oh.
Thank you guys for listening.
Lovely.
Wow.
Now you're a lot of times or I've thought of your music as the high energy patches with mutes and a lot of intention. And then you give us this slowly evolving stuff. I mean, it's just, what a treat. Like we talked about kind of how you got here emotionally and current events and stuff, but like talk to us about adding more and more layers and layers versus like just knowing when to end and just kind of letting it be, like you said earlier. Like how's that process?
I think it's just being able to put it out to the universe, and I want to be able to put it out in a moment where I still enjoy listening to it, and I like to comment and respond to people who to take the time to leave comments, and to me, I just feel like there's still an emotional connection to a song when I put it out right away versus thinking, oh, I'm going to work on something later with it, or I'm going to add it to something else. And I think even I can go back, there's probably 10 or 12 patches that are really good that I have that I just haven't, they're 90% there, and I just don't have, I know what I want to do with it, but it's like there's some moments when you just feel good about ending it and not having to deal with that 90-10, or you spend 90%, 10% of the time with 90% of it, and then you spend the 90% of it trying to fix the 10. And so there's something also just about having that balance. We've talked about this in the past, where in my earlier days of doing Modular, if you go back to even my YouTube channel and go back to the first few performances, they were very almost they were very rehearsed, and they were almost, I could play Modular, close the lid, go to another event the next weekend, pick it up, open it, play the exact same set over and over. And I think a lot of that was the classical piano training that I had over the years growing up, where you just here's a Chopin piece, just play it. You want to play that exact thing. You can add emotions to it and make it your own, but there's something about picking up your hands, doing the next piano, playing the same thing. So, and it also forced me to really understand the rhythms, and I was just treating it like as an entire instrument. And so I think a lot of the early days, I was trying to learn the module, trying to do performances and having songs within songs, having songs within a performance, which going way back to the days when I first started in 2014, and I remember seeing Rodent. He was playing downtown at this. It was the something factory, the coat hanger factory. I can't remember
Well,
the
in
name
New
of it,
York,
but
it would have been the knitting factory.
handbag factory. That's what it was. And so I remember watching him. It was the first performance I've ever seen anyone play live on Modular. And it was a kind of an electronic industrial night anyway. And so he was the first set. And I remember him playing these 4 or 5 patches within his set. And I was so impressed by that. And someone had a recording of it. I think it was Cyrus Rex who had helped him that night and had a recording, he did video, and he put it up on YouTube at the time. And I remember just watching it over and over going, how does he do 4 or 5 songs into one performance? Like, that's really cool. So I started my patches based off of that idea of let's have 4 or 5 songs. And if you go to my first probably 5, 6, 7 performances on YouTube, which were also performances from like Modular on the Spot or like Robot Speak up in San Francisco. There was the Whistle Stop in San Diego. So a lot of the performances I have on YouTube were just versions. They were like a document of those performances that I played out because I could control the lighting. I can control the sound a little more than being in an unknown place. And so then my sound started changing when I was really kind of wanting to get out of that box. It's like, okay, I understand the rehearsing. I understand the way things are syncopated and rhythmically, I was almost treating it like a calculator in a way where it's like, okay, method, I get this, study this, multiply this and divide by this. And I was really losing. I didn't have a lot of I had emotion in it, but it wasn't like
not for the performance
now.
part. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then
like there was emotion, like when you built it, but when you were playing it, it was more like when a band, like rehearses and they're tight.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I was even remembering when I first started, like, okay, rehearsal time versus performance time. Like, okay, I would look at a patch and go, well, I spent 20 hours on that patch, or I spent 30 hours on that patch. And I would go, well, that's like 2 hours per minute, 2 hours of rehearsal per 1 minute of performance. So I was doing all these like calculations in my head. And then I was coming out with these cool patches, but that's kind of how my mind was working. And part of me thinks that's kind of why I liked Modular, because you had multipliers and dividers and you had all these different modules. Right. Felt very mathematical. So I take the piano playing and maybe the trumpet playing, which, trumpet's a very melodic instrument, and maybe some of that I'm trying to bring into this calculator of some sort of a,
right.
Like I'm trying to figure out, like I'm trying to solve a Rubik's Cube, or I'm trying to, do something different. And then I just wanted to break from that. It's like, okay, I get it. I understand the foundation of synthesis and subtractive synthesis and what VCAs do and, what an envelope generator does. And I understand filters now. And, I didn't understand what folding or phasing, like, I don't understand what that is. I'm not going to deal with that, But the sequencing is what really I understood, because a lot of it was through piano. Like, one of my first modules was a sequencer, the Kilpatrick Audio K4815 or something. I still have it just because it's just a grid and it does sequencing. And that was where I really started with that. But then, and even in my music today, I still have very much, melodic structures and sequencing. That was, 2 of those voices were sequenced. One was through the keyboard, and the other one was through the Bloom from Qubit Electronics, just messing with that. So, but the rest was all
run with the Bloom tonight. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned some things.
Quick interruption about the YouTube channel. It's linked below in the description. I put it there on purpose because I want you guys to go to Patrick's YouTube channel, not right now, okay? But he has very carefully documented his whole journey in Modular. And I love looking at some of your earliest stuff versus where you are now. It's such a cool, and anybody who wants to do that or thinking about like how to document like what you're doing, man, there's just not a better way. It's such a cool thing you've done. And it's really inspired me to do that. I look at some of my first, performances versus now, and it's still noise garbage, but I'm just saying that I do see a difference,
Yeah, it's more for me, just because we always heard you can only play a performance once, like it's one, it's done, it's gone. You can't recall it. You can't do these things. And so I really wanted to document it in my own setting. And then if I were, because most of the time you have a great patch, like, all right, I'm going to record this live, and you get there and you forget, oh yeah, I forgot a stand, or I'm going to be working off of a wobbly table, or, oh no, lights. What do you mean? I need lights. Otherwise you're just going to see dusty hands, so all those factors on top of trying to play the patch itself. So then over the months and months, I got smarter and was bringing in some other things, but it's really hard to capture what your patch is doing when you can play it in the same environment that you rehearsed in. And so that's why I just kept these archives. And what I really enjoy now, because I have one patch that's been out there for about 4.5 years, and I still get comments pretty regularly. And it's just so nice to see the evolution of how people treat modular over the years. Because in the beginning, it's like, oh, this is very techno, this is cool. And then now it's like people are asking very specific questions. And then there's like the questions become a lot smarter, and they're, like there's more of an acceptance of modular now than there was even 5 years ago. And so the audience that watched a performance in 2016 versus 2020, they're just different people. And so it feels like it's new all the time. And so that's kind of the reward. So I say, spend 20 hours or 30 hours building a patch, but then you get all this lifetime's worth of, feedback, which is really important. I think it's good to know. And the modular community is just incredible. I mean, just looking at the chat room here, it's incredible. Like,
they get it.
They get it. And when we have our events, when we were going outside, and just that's just as rewarding as the performance itself. And so, it's the feedback is always good and encouraged. And I've learned so much from other people. And, so that's I kind of broke that box barrier and started doing, a lot of it was just saying, what's my most uncomfortable thing to do in modular? It's patching from scratch. Got it. Hit the record button, have nothing in my gear, start with a small row and just see what happens. And so I just started recording those, and Instagram Live was a very big part of that, because I knew I'd get, a couple people looking at it here and there, but I could always delete it, or I could save it for later. And so, but it gave me a chance to play to a live audience. And there was something intriguing about that versus just hitting record. And so that the patching from scratch, putting it out there, not worrying about the mistakes, and not caring about where it's headed, or taking it in new directions just to see if you can pull out of it. It's a lot of fun. So that's really helped shape the sound too. So I just faced my fear.
Yeah. I mean, people like seeing that risk, back to what you're saying about being over rehearsed and showing up really tight versus kind of letting it be loosey goosey. This kind of audience can see that, and they like appreciate that risk.
Yeah.
They can see it happening. I can always tell, no big judgment here. I'm just saying, I can always tell when somebody is new to listening to modular when they talk about bleeps and bloops, and I'm like, man, give it a year. You're going to start hearing all the nuances and all the delicate little moves and all the stuff,
Yeah. The comments that say, finally, no bleeps and bloops. I'm like, okay, good.
No. There will always be bleeps and bloops.
Of course. If I don't get a comment that says it, that means I haven't added enough. Go back and put more in.
Speaking also of links down in the below, I don't know what that means. During your set, I got a ping from Bandcamp on my phone telling me that Patrick O'Brien had just released a track on Bandcamp. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's true. This performance is now live on Bandcamp. Amazing.
Yes.
So
free download.
If you want to support our brother, Patrick, the link is below. Don't go right now. Just saying.
No, I wanted to put it out there for everyone. Do whatever you want with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta love this guy. Something that, well, first, do you want to talk some technical patch notes kind of stuff? Do you want to talk to us a little bit? I mean, you said
Sure.
bloom. You really used the bloom on this patch, but do you want to talk to us a little bit more about what you
Yeah.
built?
Well, part of what I've been going over the past couple of months is I've been looking at some modules I've had for a while, but I just haven't put them regularly in some patches. And I thought, let me just do some manual diving. Let's just dig deep. And, I bought this for one purpose, for this, just to do one thing. But there's, after doing a lot of like the noise engineering demos, I picked up on, I have to learn 100% of a module in order to share it with people and explain exactly what it does. And so in doing those demos, I'm like, I could start doing this with my other modules too, because there's so much,
right.
The Bloom is a sequencer that is a 32 step, and it does all these really neat algorithmic things with the branches and trees. And I'm just like, I know it can do one thing really well, but like, let me deep dive and figure out what exactly, understand this architecture and what it can do.
What more is here? Yeah.
And so I spent about an hour just with the Bloom on this patch, trying to create a non-repetitive, very, goes up and down the octaves quite a bit, and I didn't want to put a straight clock into it. So I use like the variegate, which I usually just use for percussion. I put the variegate in with some random triggering just to give it some little glitchy. So it had a pattern, but it was sort of glitchy in between, and it would just bounce around different melodic structures. And so it just started playing like that by itself. And this is what it was intended for. And at least from what I feel, it's more than just that 8 sequences over and over, or a randomization of the 8 sequences. It tended to go up and down the octave ranges, but yet you could still focus it on a certain key. And so you knew you were sort of safe if you stayed within that key. And so that's what I did. And so I'm like, this is really cool. And I just let it play by itself for 20 minutes, go, make some food. And like, am I tired of the sound yet? No, it still sounds pretty cool. All right. Well, then maybe I could do a longer patch with it, because if I can tolerate it for 20 minutes, then maybe there's something to it.
Right.
And then I just started adding the, like the elements is what makes that nice breathy drone sound that goes throughout. And I never use the elements in that way, because it's usually for chimes or the things, and just to have this low tone that just goes and just cuts, and you hear the reverb just encapsulated. I just really like that sound. And I played on that, and then I just did I just love playing the mangrove, which is the melodic sound. Was the last voice that really did most of the speaking in the patch. And I just love being able to play with the formant on it to create that vibrating, like a vocal, like you're calling out sound. I have it in a lot of my latest patches, and it just gives me this chance to be very musical with it and give it more than just bleeps and bloops. You actually have emotion behind, which is really, that's a challenge sometimes to put emotion behind electronic music in this capacity. But that I just really enjoy using that to kind of filter the sound to give it this voice. And
was the mangrove the one you were playing on the keys?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I would tune it down when I was doing a lot of that sequencing up high, just kind of keep that. But then when it would come back down, I would kind of bring it up again and do some really, going deep and coming up high. And yeah, I felt very connected to it. Yeah. And then the other, the other kind of this heartbeat that goes through it about midway through was the Loquelic Terratas.
God bless the Loquelic.
Yeah. And I put a black LFO on it, so it gave it this like repetitive, but still it kind of echoed and faded. And then it would come back. It's like there's a cycle that's not connected to anything else. And it was just the steady heartbeat. But the Loquelic was that gritty, low end that I felt like I filled all the frequencies with this patch. I don't want it to be too low or too high.
Yeah, you sure did.
So that's the technical part behind it.
We need the technical, I mean, we want to hear the feels, but this audience, I'm seeing them scroll. They need the tech too.
And I'll put this track on my own YouTube channel. Probably tomorrow I'll do it. And so I have a whole list of patch notes from like my version of what I feel is happening. If you could write video to this and do it as a soundtrack to something, this is kind of what I imagine. And then there's the technical part of it where I explain how I use different multipliers and dividers, and how I patched the bloom and
Great.
Created all those effects
Mm-hmm.
for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Now, with all this time on our hands, quote unquote, and with all this equipment here, this little miniature system you've got here behind you.
Yeah.
What do you think about like what Colin Benders is doing with like putting it all out, playing for hours? Like you could definitely do that. Or like what's your comfort level of doing something like that? Like I personally could not keep it up for 3 hours. Don't even start in the chat with that one.
Yeah, I kind of want to do it.
Here. He's not going to let that one go. Watch him. Sorry.
I mean, I watch what he does, and it's great. He has like a 3-camera setup, and he just patches and goes, and he can go for
talking. He's talking.
Yeah, then he's very interactive. I like
Right.
I like that. I like being I like watching it. I like seeing the instant feedback, and he'll just kind of stop down his patch and talk to the community and talk a little bit about his patch. And he goes, and then you could tell like when he knows he's going into a good jam, he's not going to talk for a while. Okay, here's a 20-minute deep techno patch then he's going to come out of it eventually. So just remember what you were wanting to ask him while he's in the middle of it. So then when he comes back. So, but there's just something about, he just goes, I like that idea. I like being able to do that. I haven't been able to go live, although I am planning on doing that because I got some cameras set up, and thanks to the New York Modular Society, I played with them in May, and they kind of forced me into the Twitch technical environment on how to set up computers and how to live stream from Twitch. And I was a part of that. And you were too, Jono, and just performing live through those streams. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to set up your Ethernets and latency. And so I was very inspired by that moment to do more of that. And so I'm just going to start doing that more. I think that's where it needs to go. People want to hear raw, organic stuff.
Yeah.
And I just don't see there's any other platform I can do that. Like Facebook, there's too much algorithm stuff going on. And I kind of want to get out of some of the things you see on Facebook. And Instagram is still very short. It's 3 or 4 seconds and you're flipping through. Sometimes you watch a whole patch. Sometimes, it depends on your time, where I feel like the way the YouTube is set up, I could even go the Twitch route too. I might go into that. I don't know a whole lot about it, but this seems like the place to expand on that too.
I think that YouTube is the platform right now. Just my personal feelings on it. Facebook is so interesting because after Modular World shows, I'll look at the metrics of like the actual viewers on YouTube, not just the people logged in to Google who are chatting, but like everybody who watched, there'll be 300. And then Facebook will show like 700 and 800. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like look at the chat on Facebook and there's like 0 interaction. So I think that you're scrolling, you're looking at a bunch of ads, you're looking at a bunch of posts, and it doesn't show how long you're actually there, whereas YouTube shows the whole metric.
I think YouTube focuses more on time spent watching, where Facebook, if it's 3 seconds of a video, it counts it as a video view, whether you watched it for 3 seconds or 30 minutes.
It's a worthless metric. Yeah.
So you don't really know exactly what the true amount of time that someone spends on it, where YouTube, it's designed to be more long form in my I don't
look
see
at the chat. I mean, this is engagement,
Yeah.
I guess my issues with Twitch are just culture. I think it's young, and I mean, obviously it's mostly gamers and youngers, and there's a small community in the creative streamers, but then it's like emotes, and like you gained some love and from watching for so long, and now you've earned emotes, and it's kind of cutesy. And I guess the culture of Twitch I don't love. but friends of ours are rocking it. So,
Yeah.
like New York here in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
killing it on Twitch. So it's like we're all going to kind of use our own, way of doing this. That's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I've loved just the conversations with New York, with SoCal Synth, with Colorado. Um, and we're all producing these shows and we're kind of sharing knowledge and trying to make all our streams and all our culture better. Um, yeah, it's been a pleasure, really. Just been awesome.
Yeah. At least you can stream on all of them and not take away from one or the other too. I mean, maybe each of them have their own audiences that you can build. But I'm with you. I feel like YouTube is the preferred,
Mm-hmm.
um, way to just get more content out there and
Mm-hmm.
more songs and just grow with the community.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's like, it's where you put your time, like I've seen Twitch chats go off, like just like this or more,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and if you're spending your time there and investing in an audience there, cheers. For me, it's definitely YouTube, and Facebook is just a big question mark. I don't get it. But I
Yeah.
do, multi-stream to all three. I get little reports after Modular World, and it's like, you had 2 viewers on Twitch. And I'm like, all right, 2. I had my 2,
Me and me tomorrow.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. And then Facebook had 800. I'm like, no, they didn't. They did not. Oh, God.
Oh, that's funny.
Um,
But yeah, I think it's great. Like Colin really inspires me to do more, and I just I want to be able to be in that space. I don't see a whole lot of modular guys just doing live sets on YouTube, so I just want to be in that space and see where it goes. You never know. It's fun. What have you got to lose? So
you should do it, man. I mean, I
yeah.
think all of us in this chat would would watch those streams.
Yeah.
Just get the Colin Bender's little headset on and do a little talky talk. Man, what kills me watching his stuff is that like he's like bent on his knees the whole time, right? And I know he's not like 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And he's just bent over the whole time. I'm like, dude, I could do that for like none minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I'd have to have like a big boy chair and like right, like right up here, And he's like hunched over. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. I mean, you gotta give it that.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met him was at a NAMM convention, and I was walking by the Dope brought their huge, wall of synths, and Dieter was there too, and I just kind of walked by and I just saw Colin just like, who is this? He's just jamming. Like, obviously he's not getting a demo of the new Wasp filter. I mean, what is this? And he just drew a crowd, and it was incredible. So having the ability to go to a case and start playing like that,
yeah,
it's so much respect for that type of skill.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pulling major patches out of the air, and just having them evolve and work, and just like, I don't know, man. He's on another level. Was he at NAMM this year?
I didn't see him there. No.
It's so funny. Like, we didn't leave the little Eurorack area, Like, I stood with you like the whole day. I didn't want to even walk the floor. Like, I did once or twice, but I was like, I don't want to leave the little synth world,
Yeah.
It's such a shit show, man.
I make my rounds of the same kind of places I go to.
Yeah. One of the funniest
I always want to go by the one where they do the ear molding, so you can have customized.
Oh yeah, those
headphones.
Like in-ear monitors. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do that.
But then you get older and your ears sag and they don't fit anymore, right? I remember one of the funniest things about NAMM was that I got a pass from Eikenberry from Qubit.
Mm-hmm.
And so it said John O. Wells, and then it said Qubit, right? Qubit Electronics.
Right.
And like, not tons of times, but I mean through the day, like a handful of times, someone like walks up and they're like, "Oh man, I really wanted to talk to you." I'm like, I doubt it. You know, not me probably. And they're like, yeah, I just love what you're doing, man. The modules which you guys are putting out, and I wanted to ask, you know, and I was like, oh, the qubit thing. I'm like, yeah, no, you want to talk to Andrew? Like, but it says qubit on your badge. Oh,
It's like, well, you say, well, here's the new modules, and then just walk away. There you go.
right, yeah.
You've done
And
your
data
work.
bender. Oh my God. Not a product placement. I swear to God, not a product placement. But data bender. Oh, that shit just hurt. And that was January. And this is like, what is this, September?
Mm-hmm.
So he's just talking about releasing that now.
Yeah.
Bro, I want that.
Yeah.
Okay, not product placement, I promise. Gerald Fjord, that is such a predictable comment. And actually, as I said it about the ears sagging, man, I knew you would grab that. So totally predictable, not funny.
That's great.
so predictable. Okay, another funny NAMM story was, who is that awful band?
You
Keyboardist.
can't set me up like that.
No. This is self-deprecating joke on myself. The keyboardist guy, ridiculous looking, looks a little bit like me, but has the huge beard.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff on Instagram.
Who's the band? They were no good.
You're
I'm gonna think of it.
Spot.
So I'm sitting there, and Dissonance leaving. Love you, man. We'll talk soon, Jason. Thanks for coming by. New York City is leaving the building. Love you, brother. Man, talk about a talented technician. Oh, baby. Okay. Oh, it's Dream Theater.
Yes.
Dream Theater. Okay, so I'm in the Synthy area, and this guy walks up. This is classic NAMM, man. It's like everyone's famous or thinks that everybody's famous.
Jordan Rudess, that's it.
Oh, thank you, Surging Mass. Okay. So this guy walks up, and he's like, you and I were talking, or me and somebody, and he's like waiting in the wings to talk to the famous person. You know, like I do when I want to talk to like Richard Devine. I'm like waiting in line, you know. So this guy's waiting. I'm like, what's up, man? And he walks up all sheepish, and he's like, dude, my wife would kill me if I didn't get a photo with you. She's the biggest Dream Theater fan. Is it cool if I please get a photo with you? And you know what? I should have gone with it. You know, I should have gone with it, because she would have seen it and been like, who the fuck is this? You know, but I was like, bro, I'm not Dream Theater guy. And he was just like mortified. And he like walks back and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry, bro. I'm like, it's all right. Classic. And then I see pictures of that guy, and I'm like, it's not that crazy that he thought that. I mean,
no.
I don't look like the guy, but it's not that crazy. You know,
it's very easy to look like him.
It's not like you and that comedian guy.
Oh, Jim Gaffigan.
Now that's a fucking looky likey right there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that video still on your Instagram? That
yes,
little
it is.
Miniature one, man.
Yeah.
If anybody wants a great laugh, go on Patrick's Instagram.
I try to get Jim Gaffigan to unlock my iPhone
with facial recognition.
Yeah.
So you're backstage somewhere? Like where were you guys?
At the TV station I work at. He was one of the guests. He was coming in for a comedy tour.
It's really funny. I mean, it's really funny.
We have this thing, actually. It goes way back.
You have the same birthday, right?
Same birthday. And we actually did, and on Instagram, I was at a grocery store in near work, and some guy thought I was him in the produce section. It's like, hey, you Jim Gaffigan? I'm like,
yep.
Depends. Because you never know. And he goes, oh, man. And I said I was. And he goes, well, you look just like him, man. He's so funny. And just kept going on. I'm like, huh. So then on Instagram, I found a photo of him where he kind of looked like me at the day. And I did like a side by side. And I said, I don't know. Some people say I look like, and then tag at Jim Gaffigan.
Oh, my God.
Do you think? And then I put it on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So he actually responded to me. And he's like, this is hilarious. He's like, can I use this photo? Because I'm going to be a guest host on the CBS late
Oh
night
my
show.
God.
And he's doing a bit because so many people come to him and say,
oh my God.
you got so many pasty white people look like Jim Gaffigan. I was like, I can't, so,
Right.
and so he gets this all the time. So he wanted to do a bit about it. And so I gave him my photo from that day, and I'm just watching TV, and all of a sudden Gaffigan was guest hosting. He goes, well, it's part of his monologue was, some people think it's weird how many people actually send me pictures of people who think I look like you. And so he goes, here's an example. And then he put my image up on the screen. He goes,
love it.
That's kind of a studious version of me. And then he got some laughs, but then there was funnier ones later, obviously.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, it's a great guy. And then I met him that first time when he came by the studio the first time. And I was waiting in the back as he was doing his interview. And as I walked up, he goes, hey, you look like me. I'm like, actually, I am. I'm the guy that you took a photo of. And he goes, oh, let's get a photo together. And he goes, yeah, how's that? You still part of the SPF 100 club? I'm like, yeah, that's me,
And then he said like the doughy white guy convention or something like that. It's so funny.
So I just thought, and then the iPhone 10 come out, and I'm like, oh man, if I ever get another chance to talk to Jim Gaffigan, he's got to try to unlock my phone.
Right.
So that was
it didn't work, right?
List. No.
Right.
No.
Oh, it was really fun.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So the whole exchange is right there on Instagram. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Seriously, people, go on Patrick's Instagram and find that clip. It's really good. Man, I don't have anything left on the list here. We've touched it all.
Awesome.
Do you have anything else? Any other funny NAMM stories or any other little tangents that we could
I don't know about NAMM. That's
Any questions from the chat? I don't know. I've been like, I have not been reading chat, and there could have been like really awesome questions. No, it's just Fjord giving me shit.
That's funny.
It's mostly just Fjord giving me shit. Every 4 lines. Okay.
Cool.
Man, I love you. Just thanks so much for coming and doing this. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Love you too. This is fun. I like having a conversation with you, catching up, and
yeah, because we never talk, so it's good to finally, talk about stuff.
Yeah,
it's good to finally catch up.
Put a face to the voice.
Right? Yeah, I forget. Yeah. You're a good man. All right. Okay, so housekeeping. Links in the bottom. POB's new track is up there now. Awesome. If you need it in your collection and just don't want to ever forget it, it can happen. Come on, you can say it. Surging Mass in the chat, playing tomorrow at Houston Modular Houston, but it's their YouTube page is Modular Houston Live. Nope, I'm saying it wrong again. Is it Houston Modular or Modular Houston? I'm completely fucking it up. I have a link too. It's Modular Houston. Anyway, Surging Mass is playing. Our sister Brandy, Space Racer, is playing. And I am also playing. And there is a couple bands I've not heard of. And I've searched this week on Instagram, and I'm excited to meet some new friends. I'm going to post this link in the chat right now. It is Modular Houston Live. It's confusing because they do have a YouTube page called Modular Houston, and this is on Modular Houston Live. God, I'm having a hard time getting the words out here. Okay, here's this. That is tomorrow. Surging Mass, Space Racer, myself, and 3 others who I love very dearly. I don't know them at all. It's a total lie. Okay. But we will all know them at the end of this, and we'll be very dear friends. Here is the link to Patrick's Bandcamp. Boom. Right in there like that.
Awesome.
Okay. And, look, man, we made it out in an hour 20. That's not bad. I had promised 3 hours, but come on, we can't do it.
This is plenty.
Yeah, there's plenty. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching this very intimate hangout with our brother Patrick O'Brien.
Thank you, everybody.
And dude, thank you again for sharing such absolute beauty with us.
Thank you, Jono.
Just awesome.
It's and even though it's like a very dark ambient kind of a moment, I feel like I've learned a lot about myself through it. And so, I'm inspired to move forward and do things like with live YouTube and to get more tracks out there and just actually have things that are, just having a place to put stuff and being a little more, just having more of a plan to get so many tracks out because they're sitting in a hard drive, and I just want to take that time. So I think that, seeing the just seeing live music more and more on YouTube, I just want to do more of that. And so I hope that this pushes me to the next level, and we can just have a lot more hangouts, and I get to know the community a lot more, and it's fun. I enjoy playing the music, and I don't know where it's going to take me, but it's I just love the community behind it, and people like you who got the technical wizardry to put this all together, and I appreciate that. And
well, I mean, I think that Susan Horton's in the chat. I just love this community. So awesome. Brian, Gary, Travarsi, Tata, Itai. Awesome. I've said this to you. I've said it to friends, and I believe it to my bones, is that like we have got to release. We've got to release as much as we can. It's our legacy, and it's what, as artists, it's what, I mean, it's our legacy. That's it, and that sounds like a fancy word, like you think about like somebody's estate or something like that. But I do think about, my dad, he was an author. I have a shelf full of his books. That's interesting. I want my daughters to have all the music I've made. This is, and I can't have things dying on hard drives. I think about the tracks you were saying where they're 90% there, and it's like, man, that just hurts my soul, because I'm positive that you would share it with me or with somebody else, and they'd be like, this is great. Right?
Yeah.
But we get lost in this like analysis paralysis. Hey, look at that. Right on, Jono. Analysis paralysis, where it's like something else could be perfect. And personally, I don't get stuck in that, maybe to a fault the other way. I'm like, this is great. Let's put it out.
Yeah.
Whether it's great or not, I need to put it out. It needs to be out, to be out there. And it's not a quantity over quality thing. It really isn't. I don't need to just release, but I do need to make sure it's out. It just can't die. It can't die on the vine that I just made it for me. I did make it for me, but now it's time to,
Yeah, I found the best thing to do is perform it, give it a week or so to get away from it, so you don't remember all the mistakes or things that made you mad. And then when you go back and listen to it with a different mindset, that's where I find the most reward from that. Like, great. Wow. This is actually good. I don't remember what it was that I didn't like about it, and then put it out there.
Right.
I think I'm finding more success in doing that than just sticking something out there right away, which is the uncomfortable part of doing something live on YouTube, because you're putting it out there and there is no return back. Once it's out there, it's out there. So I kind of like the idea of being in that uncomfortable space again and seeing where it takes me.
God, me too.
Yeah.
Amen on uncomfortable space.
Yeah.
High five on uncomfortable space. All right. Okay. This time for real. Okay? Signing out. We'll see you soon. Okay? Don't hang up. We're going to chat a little more. But I am going to sign off on this stream. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This was fun. I'm going to do this format more. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. We will see you soon. I don't have a cool bumper like I do for Modular World. I'm just going to go black. Okay? Here we go. Thanks, guys.
Should I do a fake zoom freeze?
Yeah, a little. I didn't hit black yet. Oh, I gave it away.
Ah.
Okay. All right. Signing off. This is John O'Wells. You've been listening to Dotwave with Patrick O'Brien.